This is Mitch with TaxFreeFuture.com. We have Tim Berry and Jennifer Falloon on the line. Tim is an attorney, spent 2 decades of his life plus studying tax-free accounts and tax-deferred accounts and the ins and outs and how you get in and how you get out of trouble and all kinds of stuff. So with no further ado, how you doing, Jennifer?
I'm awesome. Tim, Mitch, how are you guys? Had a good
Fantastic,
weekend.
thank you.
All right,
Awesome.
so as promised, we've been taking the questions that people are sending in to give them your address, the way they can send their questions, Jennifer.
Send your questions to Jen, Jen, at taxfreefuture.com. And yes, so we have a ton of questions and they're really good. And guys, when you're ready, we can jump in and get these questions answered.
We're ready. So tell us, what's the first question on the list we want to address?
All right, so Joe from McAllister, Oklahoma asked, what exactly does self-directed mean?
Self-directed basically means that you've got checkbook control over your retirement funds. In the past, the brokerage firms want to tell you what you can and can't invest in. Self-directed just opens up the whole investment universe so you can invest in what you want to, what you know and understand, as opposed to something the brokerage firm is going to rip you off on.
Good.
Gotcha. Then a follow-up to that, David in Burlington, Kentucky asked, like, how do they work?
How do they work? Relatively simple. We either A, go to a fancy trust company and set up the self-directed account if it's an IRA, or B, we just sign some fancy paperwork if it's a 401k. We open up a checking account for the entities, whatever it is, give you the checkbook, and now it's up to you to go out there, find the investments, and start making money.
So it's not only self-directed, but you have checkbook control. And the key there is, and I had to learn this the hard way, like everything else, you only have to miss one deal that could have made you $10, $15, $20,000 profit because you're waiting on a trustee who's on vacation or out, or they're backed up and they can't get to you, or your file fell in a crack somewhere, and you miss one deal because you had to wait around for your trustee to sign off on the deal. That's why checkbook control is so important. I only had to lose one deal like that, and I said, that's it. I got to switch. Cost me a small fortune to learn that lesson, but what's the next question?
Yeah, well, and I just want to, tagline that it's worth the investment. Tax-free future, it's going to cost you money to not join us. So Al from Fremont, New Hampshire, can I combine multiple accounts into one?
The answer is absolutely. If we're dealing with the self-directed IRAs, it has to be all your money. It can't be your spouse's, can't be the kids, but just your money, and it has to be like kinds. So you can't combine the Roth with the traditional, but as long as you got a bunch of traditionals, we can glop them together. If it's a self-directed 401k you're going to use, we can combine yours, we can include your spouses, the kids, we can include the whole families. And once again, it's going to be like kind. Well, actually, we can combine Roths too, but we can't roll Roth IRAs into a self-directed 401k.
You can roll traditionals, but you can't roll Roths.
Correct.
You can put traditional money into a 401k and then Rothanize it later, like convert it, right?
Absolutely.
And then my understanding is then you're just tracking your traditional money and your Roth money in the same accounts, but in different lanes. You're tracking them, how they grow separately, because one growth is tax-free in the future and another one is just tax-deferred. The traditional is tax-deferred in the future. And that's interesting. And you can also combine spouses accounts, right?
Inside the 401k, yes. And that's a great reason for using the 401k. And anyone who's watching, for everyone who's watching, don't even think about it. If you can qualify for a self-directed 401k, use that instead of the IRA. And the only real qualification is that you have some sort of self-employment income.
One thing I learned about the IRAs versus the 401k is that the IRAs are pretty stiff. If you do a prohibited transaction or whatever, the penalties are very, very stiff. The 401k, I understand, is much more forgiving. Is that true?
Very true. And here's the crazy thing too. For the last couple of weeks, I've had phone calls from clients who have IRAs and the custodian is actually auditing their transactions and says, oh, you did a prohibited transaction, and is going to write a 1099-R to the IRS saying they owe taxes on it. So the person who's supposed to be acting in your best interest is acting against you with IRAs. So if you can, use a self-directed 401k, not an IRA.
Okay, so this is exactly why it's so important to have Tim Berry on your team with Tax Free Future, because he's looking out for you. You're his client. He knows the tax codes. He's lived this stuff for 2 decades. So I just want to preface this. A lot of this can be overwhelming. There's a lot of information. All you really have to do is get a consult. When you think you're ready, get a consult with Jennifer. How do they do that, Jennifer?
You can just email me, jen@taxfreefuture.com, or go on taxfreefuture.com and schedule an appointment.
Yeah, and then we'll actually get you in front of Tim, just to, your personal situation. If you have a bunch of accounts and you want to know if you can roll them together, you don't have to learn all this stuff right off the bat. Just get the general idea, and then we'll get down to the specifics in your personal life, and it'll just be you and Tim and attorney-client privilege, and they'll just talk about what you have and what the possibilities are and what's right for you.
Yep.
All right. We have some more questions, Jen?
Sure. So Michael from Raleigh, North Carolina wants to know what the max amount that he can contribute.
Max amount he can contribute, with IRAs, I'm going to embarrass myself and say, I don't know. I think it's about 6,000 or so. I don't pay attention to that. With the 401ks, we're probably looking at about 60,000 plus, about 61,000, and that's per spouse. So if you got 2 spouses, okay, we're not talking about Mormons. Sorry, bad joke, everyone, bad joke. But if you got a husband and a wife inside there, that's over 120,000 you're able to put inside there, and if you do it right.
Okay, so to get started, you just go to taxfreefuture.com. You click on the link there that says free consult, or is that what it says, the link? And then we get over to Jennifer. We just one step at a time. As always, there's no pressure. This is not a hard sell. We just want to make sure that you understand the concepts that are available to you, why you would use them, and see if they're right for you. And if they are, then we go forward. And if they're not, or if you need to wait, or if you got some timing issues or whatever, we'll do whatever. But now is the perfect time during this pandemic, quarantine time, because these things take a little bit of time to set up, getting back stuff from your identities if you have to form one. Anyways, Tim can help you with all that stuff, and get ready for when these opportunities open up, because there's no doubt that unfortunately this pandemic has caused chaos, and wherever there's chaos, there's opportunity. And you want to be ready to take advantage of this opportunity and be ready for your tax-free or tax-deferred accounts as well. So it's a really great time to get started on this while, for a lot of people, there's not a whole lot to do during the day, so let's get this out of the way. You'll be glad that you did. We have any other questions, Jen?
No. Next week, we'll be back, and we'll be talking about, what are we going to talk about next week?
All sorts of wonderful, exciting stuff on how to save taxes, right?
Yeah, how to save some taxes, and what a rollover is, and the one thing I want to point, if you want to get 37 video vignettes on this topic where I'm interviewing Tim Berry, 37 video vignettes, and I say they're all like 4 or 5 minutes long on specific topics where we really get kind of detailed. You can go to taxfreefuture.com, and you have to fill out the little microform where you give your name and your address and your phone number and your email address. But please don't be afraid of that. We're not going to beat you up with a bunch of emails and texts every day. We just want to get you in and give you the opportunity to study this. So if you don't want to wait till every Monday to hear the snippets that we're giving out, just go to taxfreefuture.com, give us your micro information, hit submit, and we're going to give you 37 video vignettes. It'll blow your mind, especially if you're not familiar with what these things can do. I mean, there's a whole lot you can do with it. So, Tim, any new news with the pandemic? Last time we talked, you were talking about being able to take $100 grand out and not have to pay it back. but you do have to pay the taxes on it. You got to add it to your income and pay it over 3 years. We also talked about another option where you could borrow up to 100 grand, where you have to pay it back over 5 years at like prime plus 2.5% to yourself. And then plan C, which is do A and B, you know, borrow, take out the 100 and borrow the 100. So you can actually get to 200 grand right now. That's substantial increase because it used to be half of whatever your IRA was up to 50,000. So they just doubled it hands down. Just, you can get, if you got 100 grand in there, you can get it. So yeah. I don't exactly what you want to do with that, but when you have an idea what you want to do with it, you certainly want to run it past Tim first, because you don't want to do a prohibitive transaction and then having to start play defense. You want to be on offense all the way, and I can't think of a better guy than Tim to talk to about it. All right, Tim, anything new coming out from the pandemic?
Nothing new. We're waiting for this new bill, the second round of funding. We'll wait to see what little nuggets are inside there, but nothing new right now.
All right. Well, this is Mitch Stephen with taxfreefuture.com. Jennifer, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you much. Take care.
Thank you so much. We're out of here.